Hey everyone! Tonight's topic is about the core. It's a topic that I think a lot of people are interested in and might be surprised about. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Devin. I am the administrator for the group. I started it a little over a year ago. I've been teaching for about 15 years. And when I became a mom, I started to shift my focus of my teaching to yoga for moms. And I have two little ones. My preschooler just turned 4 on Saturday, and we had a big joint party for her and my little guy who's turning 1 tomorrow. I can't believe it's already been a year. In some ways, it feels like it's been like 4 months. And in other ways, it's like he hasn't always been here. It's kind of crazy to think that a whole year ago, I was preparing for my induction the very next morning and feeling a little bit like not sad, but like a little bit like, oh man, that I didn't get to go spontaneously because my little guy was late and he was nowhere near coming from what my midwives could tell. But luckily, like I was also induced with my daughter, and my body responds well to it. It was very easy and I felt great. He did not. He had what I call super jaundice, and he had to be in the UV lights for 5 days, like 3 of them. Most babies are under just 1 light. So it took a while, but he's a mighty little, we call him baby Hercules now because he's super strong and super long for his age. And yeah, he's walking like a champ. He's saying some words and beginning to play with my daughter, which is so adorable. I love that. Yeah, and so that's a lot of fun. Yeah, after this, I'm going to put up new decorations because my daughter wanted Mickey and Minnie for her birthday and the birthday party. So that was good because that was like joint for both of them. But she is like, these are my decorations. And I, at least for this year, wanted to give Felix his own decorations because it's his first birthday. It's special, you know. So after this, I'm going to be putting up more decorations. And yeah, and then the festivities will be continuing. Tomorrow for his birthday, we are going to African Lion Safari, and it's the first time we've gone as a family. It's the first time my husband's going. Yeah, so I guess I'm the only one in my little family who's been, and that was like, I don't know, like 10 years ago or something. So it's going to be fun. Looking forward to it, and I hope they are too. Yeah, so let's get into it. Before we start, let me know if you are joining me live or on the replay. I love to know when you guys can join me for our little chats, our girly mom chats that we do on Wednesdays. This is the only time I can do it because that's when they are asleep. And hopefully they stay that way peacefully. Yeah, so I love to know what time works for you guys. And as I'm chatting, if any questions come up, please feel free to comment, or if you don't feel comfortable commenting on the video, feel free to DM me. If you have a question, don't feel like it's a dumb question or something. I find that if somebody has a question, multiple people have the same question. So don't ever feel like embarrassed or shy to ask a question. That's the only way we can learn, right? And also if something resonates with you, if you're like, oh girl, yes, like that is so what I'm going through or something, let us know in the comments or like put an emoji or something. And yeah, and so we all know how we're all dealing with things and what is like common for everyone. All right, so let's get into it. So I'm going to talk about my journey with my core. So before any of my pregnancies, I had a very strong core. I could hold a plank for like, I always like to do it to a song, and we always joked that I was going to do it to Stairway to Heaven or November Rain, because these are really long songs. I have done it to Stairway to Heaven. So I could hold a plank with proper form for a very long time without dropping my knees. And the thing that I realized though is that even though my core was strong, I didn't know how to access it like to its full potential in all the ways until after pregnancy, surprisingly. So after my first pregnancy, if you've been following along on the journey with me, that first pregnancy was a loss, and I pretty much looked like I wasn't pregnant like the next day. And I regained my strength like super quickly, even though I didn't really practice or anything, because that was like a mentally very hard time and emotionally a very hard time. And then after my daughter was born, it took a little bit longer, but still pretty quick. I wasn't doing planks, but I had learned more about the pelvic floor by that time. And I was still like doing my practice and stuff, trying to work it in with the newborn. And then over time, like my practice had changed. I wasn't doing inversions and stuff like that after her, because it didn't feel like I usually go by intention and by intuition, and I didn't really see the intention of doing inversions after having her. And when I did try a couple of times, it felt really weird. Like one time I remember I popped some blood vessels like here on my cheek, and I was like, I'm not going to do this for a while. And it was because I wasn't accessing my core to the full potential. I was more hanging out in my joints. And then after having Felix, I learned even more about the pelvic floor and even more about how I wasn't accessing things to my full potential. I don't know about you guys, but when I am working on strength stuff, sometimes I have a hard time feeling the muscles engaging in my body. Like if somebody were to tell me, oh, do you feel your lats? Like, can you engage your lats in like a back bend or something? Up until literally like a year and a half ago, I would say no. Like I would be like, no, I don't know what that feeling is at all. And it finally like clued in to me like a year and a half ago. It was like that mind body connection finally clicked. And I have that a lot in my body. Like unless it's like something obvious, like biceps, I have a hard time feeling the muscles engage. So I wasn't engaging my core properly. Like I could engage it, but not the lower core, and where like the muscles that are associated with the pelvic floor, I definitely was not engaging them. And I knew this because I was doing a core exercise, like I think it was the one where you drop your legs and bring them back up, and something clicked into my mind that my back was popping off the floor big time. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to be doing that. Like with my back popping up off of the floor, I'm not engaging my lower abs properly. And luckily for me, it never caused me any issue like in my low back or my pelvic floor, because that definitely can cause issues. And there's like an ego aspect too, because at some point your back's popping off the floor, but your legs are coming all the way down. And then when you realize it and you keep your back glued down, your legs can't come down as far at first. And it kind of feels like, oh, like I'm not as strong as I thought I was. But it doesn't matter, because you want to be doing the exercise in the most efficient and safest form that you can, instead of what you think is like better. So when I figured that out, it was a little bit humbling. And it was interesting because I figured it out from cat-cow poses. And I talk about cat-cow poses all the time. It's like such a simple movement that we have all done, and we practically don't even think about. But if you are thinking about your cat-cows actually from the pelvic tilt and your lower abdomen, that creates a much better muscle mind connection, because when you are in cat pose, you're tilting your pelvis in a way that your tailbone is facing down towards the floor, and that's naturally engaging your pelvic floor, and it's engaging your lower abs. So when you think of any of those core exercises on your back, you have to like flip over that cat pose. And instead of letting your back pop off the floor, which would be like your cow pose, you have to have the cat pose. So when I started thinking of that, I was like, oh, like I have to think of my tailbone pointing towards the sky while I'm lying on my back. And when I started doing that, I was like, oh my God, I feel my lower abs so much more. Oh my God, I have to start like always doing this. And that really changed a lot for me, and it made me think about the core a lot more. And it made me even think about when I'm teaching and like my students. So when I used to teach public classes, and we'd always do plank, because that's something a lot of people hate, but they always want to work on because they think it makes them super strong. And most people want a really strong core. So they would always be either like dippy backs or butts in the sky. And, this is not the most optimal and efficient form in your plank. So that always had me like analyzing that and being like, oh, those droopy back people are having like cow pose in their plank, and the butts in the sky are also similar because their pelvis is in that same plane of existence. The tailbone is coming up towards the sky instead of down towards the floor like a cat pose should be. And then that really helped me to notice students who are doing this all the time, and give them some verbal cues to help them not have this inefficient way. Because like, really, what's the point of holding plank for like 7 minutes if you don't even have the proper form, right? It's like you're really just wasting your time. So yeah, doing even shorter bursts with like perfect form is going to be a lot more effective than having your butt in the sky for 7 minutes, 7 minutes, right? So yeah, it really got me to start thinking about that for generally like the overwhelming majority of people do that. And how when you have a baby, like when you bring that knowledge all into like motherhood and pregnancy and postpartum, like, you know, pregnancy, our cores experience trauma. Even if you have the easiest pregnancy, that baby grows so much faster than like your body is like, whoa. And that can mean like diastases for some people, and like other issues that happen. And then you have your labor and delivery, and then, you know, some people have an easy labor and delivery but it's still traumatic. Other people have like, it's not traumatic. If it's easy, it's probably not traumatic for your mentally, but like your body has been through a trauma is what I mean. And then there's the people who have had like really tough times, like for vaginal delivery. If you have like a huge tear or an episiotomy, that affects you like a lot. And then people who have to have C-sections, and then there's the scheduled versus emergency, and that is cutting through like all the layers of your core, and that is obviously traumatic for your body. And then we see like on social media or like in traditional media or anything like bounce back culture, or these terms that are like so gross to me, where they're like, oh, mommy pooch or apron belly, and these things I'm seeing all the time now. And I'm like, girl, like, you just had a baby. You don't need to feel like crap about yourself. I always think of it like, this is not something I would wish on anybody, but when I had that first pregnancy that I mentioned was a loss. It was a loss at 29 weeks, and I looked like I wasn't pregnant immediately, like the next day. And people were like, didn't know what to say to me, and they'd always be like, well, at least your body looks great. And I'm like, I don't care about that. And so going forward with like, I found with each pregnancy after that, my body looked different longer. And, you know, there's the part in your mind that's like programmed from media and stuff. And you're like, oh my God, like I just want to look like I did pre-pregnancy. But then like the overwhelming voice in my head is like, I have 2 beautiful, healthy children now, and my body did that. Like, I need to be gentle and loving to my body. I don't need to punish myself because I don't look like I did before I was ever pregnant. You know, like that's crazy. So, and that's not to say if you do look pre-pregnancy, like right away, that there's anything wrong with you, but it's wonderful. It's all wonderful. As long as you're taking care of yourself and you're not beating yourself up because of what media wants you to look like. So that's like my caveat. But having said that, I know it's a lot of people's goals to have strong cores, and whether that's for aesthetics or for some goals they have, like for me, some goals I have now that I have a baby who's going to be a year old tomorrow is to get really good at push-ups, because I've never been good at push-ups. I want to eventually get good at pull-ups and get really good at my inversions again. So I'm back to practicing my forearm stands. I haven't practiced headstands or handstands yet, but forearm stands are coming right along. They are stable, and it's very interesting practicing that, knowing how to engage my core properly now. And when you're upside down, your brain has to work even harder. Yeah, so with all that being said, the best way to, well, you know, let me get into the tips I want to share with you. The best way to start to get that mind-body connection is not to start doing a million crunches, a million sit-ups, or a million minutes of plank. It's to first of all get that mind-body connection to your lower core, because that's where we tend to not engage properly. And to do that, to get that connection, you want to really practice your cat-cow poses. And not just because it's like for your core. Cat-cow poses are also excellent for your pelvic floor, which goes hand in hand with the core. So it's something you should be doing anyways, but not thinking of it from your spine, thinking of it from your pelvis and your tailbone. So when you're doing cow pose, which is when your back is drooping, think of your tailbone pointing towards the sky. When you're doing cat pose, which is like, a scared cat, think of your tailbone pointing down towards the ground. When you are thinking of your core, you're always thinking of cat pose. So when you are in plank, imagine you're doing cat pose. You might think in your mind, like, that's going to look so weird, but it's not, because I can guarantee you're not going to look like you're doing cat pose. But if you're thinking of tilting your pelvis so your tailbone's coming down towards the floor, you're going to be engaging your lower core in a much better way than just thinking of, oh, I just got to keep myself up. If you are on your back, you have to flip that over. So you're now thinking of your tailbone coming up towards the sky. So whether you're doing sit-ups, crunches, leg drops, bicycles, like dead bugs, like anything, you think of your tailbone coming up towards the sky and you're thinking of keeping that up the whole time. So if you're doing any of those exercises, keep checking in with your tailbone and keep trying to tilt it towards the sky so that your back stays glued to the floor and you are accessing your lower abs in a much better and more efficient way. So number one tip is to get really good with your cat-cow poses so that you create that mind-body connection and you keep remembering that in every single core exercise that you do. Cat pose, cat pose, cat pose. And another tip with that is to think of your breath. So you want to work with your breath. Something that we all tend to do is hold our breath when something is hard. And that mixed with your pelvis not tilting properly and you're not accessing your lower abs properly is why things like crunches and sit-ups can be detrimental, especially to a postpartum woman. Especially if you have any degree of diastasis. But if crunches and sit-ups are really important to you, if that's like something that's a goal for you, you want to work with your pelvic tilt and your breath. So if you think of your lungs, when you take a big inhale, you're pressing down because your lungs are inflating. So it's pressing down on your diaphragm, which in turn presses down on your pelvic floor. So if you think of your cat-cows, when you're taking an inhale, you're doing cow pose, you're all of that's pushing down and your pelvic floor is naturally blossoming. When you're doing an exhale, you're doing cat pose. And when you are exhaling, your lungs are contracting, which means your diaphragm is lifting. So your pelvic floor naturally lifts in cat pose. So when you are engaging your core, you're doing your cat pose, you want to think of the exhale. So if you're doing something like a crunch or a sit-up, when you're coming up, you're thinking of exhaling because you are working with your pelvic floor and your lungs and your diaphragm. And that's going to help everything instead of pushing everything out and doming and all that, which is definitely not helpful for your diastases. And of course, if you have diastases and like a big degree of it, definitely check in with a healthcare provider. They're probably going to tell you not to do sit-ups and crunches. But like I said, if that is really important to you, just try to make sure you work with your breath and your pelvic floor, and try to not make the problem worse. Yes, and over time, if you really get that good mind-body connection, then you'll have better access to your core and it'll get stronger. So, you see all those things online that are like, oh, like do 15 of these a day and you'll lose the mommy pooch, or do 20 of these and 10 of these and 15 of these and you'll look this way in like 4 months. And like, that's all BS. Don't listen to any of that. First of all, everybody's body is different. And second of all, if you are not accessing your core properly, that it doesn't matter how many reps you do, it's never going to look a certain way because you are not engaging your abs correctly. So try to keep all that in mind and try not to let your ego get into it. So if you were doing leg drops and you could get your legs all the way to the floor and back up, but your back was popping off the floor, don't let your ego in. Think of your cat pose, gluing your whole back down. I'm sure your legs aren't going to get as far down, but it's a better position and you're working your abs in a better way. So just remember, don't let your ego get in the way of it. Be gentle on yourself. You have your whole rest of your life to hit these goals. You don't have to look a certain way within like 6 weeks. That's not realistic. And when you are trying to reach these goals, you want to be realistic. So let's recap. That was a lot of chit chat and kind of bouncing around. So to recap, to be able to access your core in the most proper and efficient way, you want to get really good at your cat-cows. You are thinking of cat pose when you are thinking of engaging your core. So whether that's in plank, sit-ups, crunches, leg drops, dead bugs, anything that you do that engages your core, you're going to be thinking of your cat pose in the sense of your tailbone coming towards the front of your body. And then once you get that going, try to think of your breath. When you are contracting your abs, think of the exhale. And you can remember that same thing from cat-cows, because your inhales is cow pose and your exhales is cat pose. So when you're in cat pose, you are engaging your abs, you're exhaling. So you're going to try to remember that. And cat pose is hopefully going to be that landmark in your mind where you're like, if you're like, oh crap, am I supposed to inhale or exhale? Be like, cat pose. Oh, right. I exhale on cat pose. Okay, I know what I'm doing. So just keep that in your mind. So I hope that was helpful. If you stayed till the end, I have a really fun announcement. Next week, I'm going to be doing a 3-day free workshop again, and I'm going to be teaming up with a weight loss coach. And so together we're going to talk about how to mindfully meet your goals. She'll be talking about the food and all that, and I'll be talking about yoga and exercise, and hopefully together it is a workshop that is really helpful for you guys. And there'll be some fun offers in that, so that's going to be next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And if you have any questions or you want to explore core work more with me, you can drop a comment and say core, or you can DM me and we can chit chat about that. I'd love to be able to help you get to where you want to be. And yeah, it's a goal of mine to help all of you guys. All right, so I hope that was helpful, and I'm off to decorate for my little guy's 1-year-old birthday tomorrow. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I will see you next week. Bye.